When the topic of reparations comes up, certain things come to mind, like direct cash payments, perhaps. But a program in Rhode Island is not only foregoing that, it's also allowing white people to benefit. With a long history of institutionalized racism in the state, many are questioning whether this goes far enough to repair the harm against Black and Indigenous people. ABC's Morgan Norwood traveled to Providence to examine the controversy and the history.
Me being Latina, well, it's 5 minutes. What's 5 minutes? You know? If you have a party, make sure you tell me it's a half an hour early because I'm going to be there half an hour late. Okay?
Evelyn Renaud may call Rhode Island home, but she refers to herself as a Philly Rican.
That's the Puerto Rican in me. I can't help it. I'm authentic, I tell people.
An authenticity she encourages young emerging leaders to tap into. It's something she learned from her own mentor, Lisa Rangland, the president and CEO of the Rhode Island Black Business Association, known as REBA. Lisa quit her six-figure job in banking to help other aspiring Black and brown business professionals like Evelyn get their start.
And to see her on that stage, what was going through your mind?
She's a star, and I'm so proud to know you.
I was born and raised in Philadelphia, a family of 11. Same mom, same dad. I'm number 11. And so you could imagine we pretty much lived in poverty. My parents always believed that education was important. They couldn't leave us in any kind of wealth behind, and that's how Lisa and I connected.
REBA hopes to help produce more successful Black and brown business professionals. And thanks to the $150,000 received from the city's reparations program, they can.
Oftentimes when people think about reparations, they think of a check or cash in hand.
I think it's easy to give a check out to somebody at $200, $500, but when we think about really building sustainability, $500 is not going to move the dial in any meaningful way.
Providence is just one of many cities that have started a reparations program, and advocates have spent decades fighting for this, demanding America offer some financial recompense to descendants of enslaved people. The history of Rhode Island, supporters say, makes a strong case. At one point, it was the slave trade capital of the colonial United States, with more than 1,000 slave ships coming in from Africa by the end of the 18th century. And some hundreds of years later, the residue remains. In fact, much of it memorialized here inside Stages of Freedom. And like its name, it documents just that. From wall to wall, Black art, books, exhibits, journeying through the history and heritage of Providence, curated by local historian and former state representative Ray Rickman.
This neighborhood, as late as 1960, was 30% Black.
He says the impact of slavery is still being felt by Rhode Island's Black population.
What is it like now?
They're gone. There is really no Black neighborhood anymore. And Black folks without resources are being forced to go to the lesser towns 10, 15, 20 miles out of town.
That area we asked about is College Hill, just a few blocks down from the museum, surrounding the prestigious Brown University. The campus, a harsh reminder of the scars of slavery. The memorial proclaiming the pain from the ones who built the school brick by brick at the demand of its founder, John Brown, a slave trader. While the institution of slavery has been abolished, the remnants of an unequal system are still evident. In Rhode Island alone, white households earned 50 to 70% more than Black, Hispanic, and American Indian households. It's why former Mayor Jorge Elorza signed a $10 million reparations budget into law.
Not only are we addressing some of the systemic challenges in our own community, but we're also encouraging and inspiring other levels of government and other institutions to take up this cause as well.
The racial reckoning following the death of George Floyd and raging protests inspired the city to take steps in addressing their own role in institutionalized racism. They decided to use COVID-19 response money to fund a reparations program. The only catch, though, the money is subject to federal guidelines, meaning although the program was meant to provide funding to Black and Native American residents, it's considered race neutral. So white residents and non-descendants of slaves can also benefit.
If we made this race-based as opposed to race-neutral, we would likely get sued and we'd be locked in litigation for 2-3 years.
The federal guidelines basically forced us to have to look at census tracts, and one of those impacted communities were those who were economically disadvantaged.
And rather than direct payments to citizens, reparations and providence are distributed through investments into small businesses and programs, including workforce training and financial literacy like REBA.
Most people think of reparations, they're thinking of a check. They're thinking 40 acres and a mule.
I often joke this was reparations 2.0 because it's rethinking. It's almost like giving someone a bucket of water that has holes in it. So we're looking at how do we start addressing these holes so that we can carry that water forward to the next generation.
The struggle to determine the best forms of reparations have been just as divisive as the topic itself. According to the Pew Research Center, 77% of African Americans support reparations compared to just 18% of white Americans. Of those supporters, the majority believe financial assistance for education, businesses, and homes would be the most helpful forms of repayment. But some think the program in Providence misses the mark. If you ask former Brown University student and activist Justice Gaines, will tell you the reparations program is unethical.
It's not reparations. What this policy is it is city funds from COVID-19 to fund an anti-poverty program. That's not what reparations is. Reparations is the work to repair the harm that has been done to Black people in this country.
What would you like to see? What would reparations look like from your vantage point?
I believe it has to have a process in our city where we truly understand what it means to include Black people and Indigenous people at all parts of life. We have multiple tribes in this state. And so what does it mean to give them space to work out their own issues so that they can be part of this conversation?
The Reparations Committee claims the Indigenous community was involved in the planning, but Rhode Island's only federally recognized tribe, the Narragansett Indians, tells ABC News neither former Mayor Elorza's office nor the Reparations Commission reached out. Elorza's office has declined to comment.
That $10 million that the mayor was great, but $10 million is a drop in a pool, not even a bucket. Because if we really wanted to repair the harm, it's going to be hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars.
Is the ultimate hope that this catches on in the rest of the country?
So we're seeing people beginning to go, this is really happening, and we really need to pay attention to it, whether they like it or not. Are we getting everything that we wanted in the beginning? Of course not. However, just even having and acknowledging the harm, I'm sorry for what this city, this state has done. That was a powerful thing.
ABC also contacted the current Providence mayor, Brett Smiley, to inquire about his plans for the program, but we have not received a response.
You all in the BIPOC community are so important to the growth of the businesses, not only here in Rhode Island, but nationwide.
We must elevate the communities that we serve, especially those communities that have been left behind way, way too long. I don't believe in handout, but rather we got to be there to be a hand up and support people in an intentional way.
Just giving dollars and cents out to people is not going to necessarily change their entire life, but being able to educate, train them, empower them is going to help them change their lives.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.